In the veterinary industry, toxicology-based offences are considered especially heinous. At the University of Queensland, the dedicated veterinarians who investigate these vicious poisonings are members of an elite squad known as the Toxicology Unit. These are their stories.
Somebody help my dog!
So, what happened?
They were fine this morning, and then they were running around the farm, and then this one collapsed, and the other one's having a fit.
Where's your other dog now?
He's in the back.
Heartbeat is weak and irregular. Mucous membranes are pale pink and the CRT is slow. He's dyspneic and he's frothing at the mouth.
The other dog is dead. He was having convulsions on the way here, but he didn't make it.
I think the cardiac and the neurological systems are affected. Based on the clinical presentation, I think this could be a case of cane toad poisoning or fluoroacetate. For fluoroacetate poisoning, clinical signs in the initial period include dyspnea and frothing at the mouth. This can also be followed by intermittent tonic or clonic convulsions in the unconscious phase. The time from onset to death can vary by 10 hours, which could explain why one dog is deceased and the other collapsed. For cane toad poisoning, clinical signs may include hypersalivation, ataxia, prostration, polypnea, and some dogs have bradycardia. In severe cases, convulsive seizures precede death. Onset is usually rapid after contact, like 15 minutes after exposure, is most common in the warmer months.
The clinical signs also match the toxicity associated with polyethylionophore antibiotics and uremia from antifreeze or ethylene glycol ingestion. There's also cardiac-like signs, but they're also unlikely since the dogs would have to ingest high amounts of them or garden waste, but they're extremely unpalatable.
Yeah, and that's similar to cyanogenic glycosides in prunus species of plants, but toxicosis is much more likely in ruminants and monogastrics like dogs.
Another one is lead poisoning, which can cause seizures and sudden death in 2 to 3 hours, but this is probably less common because there aren't as many blood sources around as there were in the past.
Neurotoxic cyanobacteria can also cause sudden death, dyspnea, and sometimes clonic seizures by cholinesterase inhibition similar to organophosphorus compounds.
Okay, so for our main toxic differentials, we've got fluoroacetate, cyanobacteria, and cane toads. What about our non-toxic differentials?
Well, there's hepatic encephalopathy, heat stroke, or metabolic disturbance like hypocalcemia or hypoglycemia. Hepatic encephalopathy could be associated with hypoglycemia as well, or ammonia toxicity.
We need answers now!
So do the dogs have access to any stagnant water on your property? Dams?
Ponds?
Unkept water bowls? Troughs?
Dips?
Been having any issues with dingoes, wild dogs, or wild pigs?
Are you or your neighbors baiting?
What about cane toads? Are they prevalent on the property?
Seen the dogs showing any interest before?
Has this ever happened before?
Go on, tell them.
This isn't looking good. Any ideas what it might be?
We were thinking 1080 or blue-green algae. How can we tell?
Let's start with urinalysis and electrolyte panel. Ideally, the urine will tell us straight away what a toxin has caused us. Electrolyte-wise, 1080 causes hyperkalemia and acidosis, also causes hypocalcemia.
And cyanobacteria?
The water on the property will tell us best, so we could test that. We've already collected blood and done a test. The high creatine kinase indicates a certain level of muscle damage has occurred, which aligns with the convulsions. The high anion gap, when considered with the low bicarb and high creatine kinase, point towards lactic acidosis, which is a form of metabolic acidosis. An increased blood glucose is less specific, but could be linked to a disruption in metabolism, high stress levels, or damage to the liver. Low phosphorus levels could indicate an acid-base imbalance or a metabolic disruption as well. Using the blood we collected, we can also perform an ELISA test for cyanobacteria and a gas chromatography mass spectrometry for 1080 detection. These will help us confirm the diagnosis, but will take at least a few hours, if not a day or more, to get the results back. Costs would have to be discussed with the owner as well.
Will you need to necropsy to find out?
The death was so sudden that necropsy may not be helpful. But I suppose if it was 1080, it's likely there'd be pulmonary congestion and hemorrhage. Depending on its form, we might even find the 1080 in the gut. We could do some histopathology, and we might find myocardial necrosis. There's only one way to find out.
Wait!
We have a dead one! Oh, that's probably better. I suppose we should focus on finding out what they were exposed to then.
Let's go somewhere more private.
Despite the lack of any answers, we believe fluoroacetate to be our top differential.
This is the chemical in dino base. It stops the production of energy, primarily affecting the heart and brain. Does that make sense?
Wait, you mean fluoroacetate? The chemical in 1080 is a major cardiovascular toxin. Works by impacting the citric acid cycle, where fluoroacetate binds with coenzyme A to create fluoroacetone coenzyme A instead of acetyl coenzyme A. This creates fluorocitrate, which irreversibly blocks the enzyme cis-actinase, creating a halt in the citric acid cycle. No oxidative phosphorylation means no ATP is being produced. Metabolism at a standstill. And the highly energy-dependent organisms, the heart and brain, as you said, are primarily impacted.
Yeah, exactly. This is why we would see difficulty breathing, foaming at the mouth, a weak and irregular heartbeat, and convulsions in both of your dogs. If we did a necropsy and histopathology, we would likely find focal myocardial necrosis.
We also considered ketones in cyanobacteria. Given their age and the fact that each dog would have needed to eat an entire toad, we are less convinced, particularly if they've never shown interest before.
And although we're still waiting on the water results, the seizuring doesn't quite line up with cyanobacteria.
So that's why the creatine kinase is so high. Those damn seizures. Well, I'm gonna take my cat, my dog, and head. Thanks, Toxicology Unit. You guys closed this case.